going on, Pinball Land? Welcome. It's episode 2. That is 02 of the Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast. My name's Ken Cromwell. With me today, Greg Bone. Greg, what's up? How are you, bud?
I'm always doing good. I don't think I ever have a bad day.
You had a bad day once, and I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I don't recall what it was, but I remember it was pretty shocking. So it's good that you're still you're riding the positivity streak. I appreciate that.
Yeah, every 3 or 4 years, that's good. But I'm a complete liar. I have a lot of bad days.
You know what? It's how you react to the bad days, honestly.
That's the absolute truth. But you know what? Today is a good day because we're talking about pinball. We're playing pinball. We're alive, and it's Harry Potter Day.
Yeah. We wanted to take a quick second, thank all the listeners for the reaction to episode 1. It's good hearing encouragement from our supporters and some old friends that I haven't heard from in a long time. I'm sure the same for you, Greg. And
Yep.
if you haven't already done so, we encourage you to like or follow or share the podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever your favorite socials are. You can search Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast and just kind of give us a like, follow, or share. You'll know when new episodes are updating if you go ahead and you search us in your favorite podcast app. Do you have a podcast app that you use, Greg, where it just kind of has all your podcasts in one spot?
I'm mainly with Apple.
Okay. I use Podcast Addict on Android. It's cool. I've got all my podcasts there.
See, you're one of those Android users. You're kind of an outcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. Last episode we were talking about Predator and our first impressions and kind of getting it out there. We did a little bit of a recap on that episode that you can find over on our Patreon if you want to give a search over there. But Harry Potter's the focus of today's episode. And obviously, polarizing title, right? Like a lot of people have been waiting for this IP to come to pinball form.
Long wait.
Right. So we finally see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's a title too that I don't know, just because there was so much surrounding, whether that the rights would ever be released, because there was so much rumor that, JK was so against pinball, it's being the bar settings, that sort of thing, or at least that's what I'd heard years ago, sort of thing. So it was almost like, hey, we're never going to see this title. We're not going to see it. It's not going to come out because she's just not ever going to relinquish the rights to it. So, it was one of those things that was very surprising to me, which is one of the things that I'm super excited to sit down and talk to you about, because even though we're friends, we haven't gone in great depth about this game, and you being there on, you were there through the entire design of it, everything about this game. You were front line there with this game. So, it's kind of exciting to talk to you about those sort of things. And then, you obviously knew before most anyone that you guys had secured this title and these rights.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. I mean, whenever you kind of have the chance to kind of see a game be born, essentially, right? So you're going from a licensing pitch to an approval to a concept to multiple whitewoods, different iterations. You see the progression. It's really fun. It's very unique. And it's such a sense of fulfillment and elation to be able to see what all these creators have done on a game title for maybe 18 months or 2 years, to see the thing actually just kind of come into the public domain and watch people's reactions for the first time. It's extremely rewarding. And Harry Potter, look, when you're considering like A++ licenses, like Star Wars comes to mind.
Yes.
It's one of those titles where it's like everybody knows Star Wars. Everybody loves Star Wars. Harry Potter, I think, is another A++ license for pinball. And I guess what I wanted to do is, instead of deep dive in the game, right? Because at this point, I would assume most people that are interested in the game have had a chance to kind of see maybe some gameplay streams. And if you haven't seen the Flippin' Out gameplay stream with Joel and Jared, check that out. I was really kind of looking at maybe covering some things that people might have missed, or that people might not have been aware about. But I also want to go ahead and talk about our general impressions of the game as an overview, without really
going too far.
Talking about going too far. Because, I mean, look, I think a lot of what we would talk about would just kind of rehash what other people have already spoken about.
Agreed.
But when you first saw the game, because everybody knew it was coming, right? Jersey Jack Pinball had announced, hey, this game is in the works. And essentially, they started teasing that game on New Year's Day of this year. So it's been about 6 months. There was a social media post that went up
So
and essentially
let me
said,
stop you real quick.
"Here we go."
So how long? I mean, I know that you said kind of 18 months, 2 years possibly. Eric, the team working on the game. When did you find out that the license was secured? How long ago did you guys know? Well, actually, let's take it a step further back. When did you first hear Jack or anyone talking about, hey, this is a license that we need to go after. This is a license that we need to get.
Sure. I mean, I always knew that was a license and that was an IP that Eric Minier, who's the designer of the game, was over the moon about, right? It was his dream theme. And when I came over to Jersey Jack, it was like April 2020. I mean, he was already talking about how cool it would be to do a Harry Potter game. Honestly, I don't remember exactly when I knew that we had secured it, but I knew that it was being pursued.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, I think at one point that Joe Kamiko post that went out.
I remember that.
I think at that time, and I'm trying to remember, I think at that time I kind of knew that there was some dialogue maybe happening between the licensor and Jersey Jack Pinball. And then when that post came out, it was pretty shocking to me because I was like, I was like, is that even a professional thing to do? Like, I don't know. Because I know that, I mean, that's important information. Should that even be out there? But it's like, I wasn't sure either way. Eventually, I think Jack told me, hey, we have Potter. And when when it was confirmed from him, I was like, all right, game on. I mean, this is huge. Because if you look back at impactful releases for Jersey Jack Pinball, obviously Wizard of Oz kind of brought pinball into the modern day era.
Oh, definitely. It was something that nobody had seen before, a game, or hadn't seen for a while, a game of that magnitude that was that jam packed.
I would agree. I mean, it was just like something that somebody had never seen before. And at the time it was priced, what was it, $6,700 or something, which was
got
expensive.
them in trouble though, because that was still a little bit too low of a price point.
Sure. And at that time, I don't even know, Jack wasn't really as concerned about getting rich off of the sales of that game. I think it was more of, he wanted to show everybody that they could make a game that people were asking for and show
almost
what was
a luxury boutique game. It was just like one of those things, like, you're going from your normal, Corolla or nice car, to, hey, we're going to show you what a luxury sedan looks like now. We're going to show you a top of the line Lexus, BMW sort of thing. Maybe even a Bentley. It was kind of a Bentley at that time.
It was at the time. Yeah, 100%. And you look at the subsequent releases from there, and you had Hobbit and Dialed In, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like those games are solid. They're good games. But then again, I thought there was like a revitalization, and maybe it was just some of it was circumstance going into COVID. But when Guns N' Roses hit, that was another thing where it's like in the industry, wow, this was a spectacle. This was heralded by some as like, hey, this is the greatest.
Dude, I don't think it had anything to do with COVID. I mean, COVID obviously boosted sales, but I don't think it had anything to do with that particular game. I think that it was just exactly what you said. I think that it was that next evolution. The other games, the predecessors other than Waz was, I mean, they were good. They were fine. It was nice. But GNR was, it came back to that thing to where, okay, this is something we haven't seen before. This integration is out of this world. Like, we just have not seen a game ever from any manufacturer that has, encompassed so much of a world under glass. That's where that evolution, that's what brought Jersey Jack back to the forefront of the pinball world to me.
Right. And you've got to take into consideration, I mean, you had Pat Lawler there at the time. I mean, Joe Balser was the designer, I think, on Wizard of Oz, but Pat Lawler came aboard with Dialed In. So Eric is there pumping along. He's got Pirates that comes out. Then he's got Guns N' Roses that comes out. And Guns N' Roses was a huge seller for Jersey Jack. And they've gone on record as saying that's their number one selling title of all time. So the anticipation for Harry Potter and knowing Eric was on that game, man, I don't know what to say other than I think there's a lot of pressure, right? It's like you can either deliver something that's going to blow everybody out of the water, which is what you want to do with every single release. You could deliver something that's serviceable where it's like, okay, it kind of scratches the itch, but it's not anything that I would say is revolutionizing pinball. Or you just drop the ball, you fumble it, and people are disappointed and they scratch their heads and wish that they didn't waste.
Well, and that pressure had to, it had to be immense because, he came off of, you go from Pirates, which, again, I kind of said GNR. I mean, Pirates was a fantastic pinball machine. Eric did a lot of amazing stuff with that. But you go from Pirates to GNR, which is, Eric's got to be riding high off of that. And then you go into Godfather, which Godfather, I mean, most people that give Godfather a chance, they really like Godfather. They enjoy the hell out of it. Honestly, like one of the better games. But it was still Godfather, not necessarily the best-selling game, not necessarily the best received game, because again, it was Godfather. Who was clamoring for a Godfather pinball machine?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, it's hard when you step into the box and you're down a strike or two.
Yes.
And again, just because people weren't necessarily asking for Godfather. So when a Jersey Jack Pinball title is coming out, they're not as frequent as like a Stern Pinball was putting out games, every few months. You're kind of waiting for that big surprise. And for some, Godfather didn't hit that from a title wise, but you're right. Like I thought that game shoots well. And if you've never had an opportunity to jump on the game because you weren't you were disappointed or the theme didn't call to you, I would recommend
100%.
jumping on it.
So that's what I'm saying. Like that pressure for Eric had to be even more immense, coming off of that title, knowing that he's got one of the biggest IPs, one of the biggest properties in all of pinball, and just feeling that pressure of, okay, I have to create something new. I have to create something that is going to be memorable. I have to create something that is fun. I have to create something that is going to sell and not disappoint the community.
And you have to look at it from multiple different angles, because the company and Eric and his team, they've got to meet the criteria for the pinball enthusiasts that are just general people that like pinball. Then you've got to meet the expectation of the collector, somebody that wants something fancy and nice in their collection. I think just as important, you've got to just be able to represent the IP where those people that are diehard Harry Potter fans think that
well, and that's where something like this, though, Ken, like this is where something like this, where it's almost a double-edged sword. Okay, you've got one of the biggest IPs ever that is just crosses, is planetary. That it's a worldwide phenomenon. And so when you create something like this, you're super excited about that. But then at the same time, how do you create something that's going to meet the majority of the people's expectations? Because everybody has a completely different vision of what this game should be or what should be encompassed in it. Because the world is so vast of Harry Potter. I mean, there's no way that you're ever going to put everything in. And so it's like, at the same time that you've got that great IP, you're battling against expectations. That's got to be so incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. Yeah, and I mean, you're taking 8 movies, right? So we've got 8 movies that are in one game, and I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that before, and that's hard too. And I know at one point during the process, I was thinking, does it even make sense to split this up over 2 or 3 different pinball machines, right? So you've got movies 2 and 3 in pin 1, movies 4 through 6 in pin 2, and then you've got movies 7 and 8 in pin 3. The unique opportunity that you would have had with that would have been putting a different designer on each of those games. So maybe Eric does the first pin, Steve Ritchie does the second pin, Mark Seiden does the third. Because if there's something that didn't call to you personally from the designer's approach of a certain game, you could always find another designer that maybe did call to you a little bit more, and you had that opportunity. Plus, for people that are just diehards, you could probably be making Harry Potter pinball machines for the next 5 or 6 years.
I was for better or for worse, I was always an advocate for that. Like, I always thought that was an exceptional idea, just because when you've got an IP that's so big and you've got so much to fit into it, just even from a business standpoint, milk this thing for all that you can. You know what I'm saying? I know that we had discussed just a little while back about that same thing, and using different designers and stuff like that. But it's kind of like what we discussed. Like you fall into, okay, now you've got 3 different designers that are battling it out for each other. No matter who you are artistically.
Just like the good old days, Greg, the good old days of the designers and teams battling it out.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is now you've got 3 designers in-house on the same game, in a sense, that,
Yep.
egos for any artist, because I look at those engineers and I look at those designers as artists. I don't look at them any different than anyone else that's creating actual art. They're artists to me. So, along
Sure.
with artists come egos. So, I can't imagine it's like my game's better than yours or mine's getting more sale. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have to speak it,
Yeah.
but it's in their minds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I can I
sure.
can see the conflict.
You want to have that competitive nature to you. I mean, you have to be in that sort of a situation,
Yes.
and you have to have some ego. You've got to have some bravado. I mean, you could cross the line with it, but yeah, that's huge. The the other thing I was thinking too is if you'd spread that out over 3 games over like a half decade, you're not Jersey Jack Pinball anymore. You're just Harry Potter Pinball Company. That's what you're making
very
for
true
about
too.
half a
Very
year
true
or
too.
half a decade.
Yep.
So,
but I'm like you, man. I think all 3 would have sold. I really do, because I think that there's enough diehard Potterheads out there, man, that honestly you would have kept. It might have trickled off by game 3 a little bit, but it still would have been, to me, pretty profitable for the company. Again, lots of there's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. But I did always like that idea.
So you're cool with the approach of, hey, we're going to take 8 movies. I don't even know how many hours that is, like 20, 30 hours of actual motion picture, and throw it into one singular game, one singular release. In hindsight now, kind of seeing how that game's been presented, and so far with earlier code, I think it's like 0.72, 0.73, something like that. Do you think that the direction that they've taken is paying off?
I think it's fine. I think that, we don't really have any choice, and I think that you do, for better or for worse, you kind of do have to go that route. I think it's a big risk doing 3 games. Like I said, there are a lot of pitfalls and stuff in that. But at the same time, I think it's going to be fine. But it's an awful lot of material to fit into one game.
It is.
But if you do it right, you pick the particular moments out of those films, you make those into good modes. Because you can make it work. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's been talking points too about, the utilization of the assets. I know for a while there's been a running commentary and requests from a portion of the community that says, hey, look, we would really appreciate if you went ahead and you took these movie clips and you implemented the audio from those movie clips and you synced them up and you kind of had them more prevalent on that 27-inch LCD screen. And some of the early indications that we saw was that there was some of that in there, but it didn't really meet the expectations for those that are really wanting that. And again, with earlier code, this is something that can evolve. This is something that doesn't necessarily need to evolve. But do you have one way or the other when you're playing the game? Do you want to see that on the LCD?
I
or
disagree
are you
about that. That it doesn't. I think it has to evolve. I think you need that. I think that one of the greatest. I won't say it's the greatest shooting game. It's still floaty, and that just shows what things like this do. But The Hobbit was one of the most integrated pinball machines I've ever seen from that standpoint. And to me, that's what makes that game great.
Agree.
Like, again, it's a very floaty game. It's fine. It's whatever. But the rules and the integration of that LCD screen in those movie clips, like you honestly, you just don't get any more perfect than that. And that, for some reason, JJP kind of got away from in some titles. And I don't understand that, because you need that ball. And, I know that we've discussed this with Zach too. Zach and I have discussed this in depth quite a few times, but you really need that ball to be held some. You don't want to break your flow. You don't want to kill the what's going on in the game, but you need a little bit of that pause. You need that to pull you into that game. You need to take advantage of those movie clips. Again, the thing is this is why theme resonates. This is why it matters. It's not just a piece of solid artwork sitting there. Like, you want to feel like you are a part of that world. And the way that you do that is through those clips. Like, that's why I'm buying the game. I want to feel like I'm in the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
Okay, so the counter argument though is, hey, if you want to experience the Harry Potter movie, like, put in the Blu-ray and watch it on your TV. You got 30 hours of Blu-ray footage you can watch, right?
No, because we're all there. That's not why I buy pinball. We want to play. We want to be immersed in it. Watching the film is fine. We are a spectator. We are a spectator when we are watching that film. When we play pinball, we want to be a part of that world. We want to play in that world. And when you encompass and help bring those video clips, the call outs, the sounds, the music to me, now I feel like I am a part of that world. You know what I'm saying? Like a movie, I am a spectator.
Yeah, I understand.
This, I am a player in that world.
Well, it's all about how you deliver the assets. Now, I don't want to hear something looped over and over and over where it becomes grating. But you talked about the game holding the ball to present to you a moment.
Yes.
And, this is something that from the very beginning of time for me in my collecting with pinball or my enthusiasm for pinball in general, the pinball moments are what get me. And the pinball moments, I've said it a million times, so I'm a broken record on this. Pinball moment is something that happens in a game where it's worthy of you trying to show somebody that moment when they come see the game for the first time. You want to say, hey, watch when it does this. And it could be something simple, like a Attack from Mars, strobe light multi-ball, or it could be something, a lot more substantial. Some of these light shows, they are incredible. And to be able to kind of set the tone, you brought up Hobbit, 100% agree. The theatrical kind of presentation is in a lot of ways unparalleled of any other game that I've ever played. And I think that aspect of Hobbit makes up for maybe what some people would perceive as some of its shortcomings. And in the end, it's an amazing experience. So we'll see what happens. I do know for a fact. So Joe Katz, who's lead programmer over there at Jersey Jack Pinball on Harry Potter, the guy's a workhorse. The guy is so dedicated and so passionate about bringing the best game. This is a guy that after Willy Wonka had been released for years, went in on his own personal time after taking some feedback and came up with a re-release of the code version 2.0. So this is a guy that's passionate and understands that you want to have the greatest game possible. He wants to be proud on what he put out there. So I'm excited to see how this code evolves going into version 1.0. And when we talk about general evolution of the code, we were talking about evolution of pinball. Do you think that this Harry Potter game, is it evolutionary to you as far as propelling pinball forward? Is this a release that kind of just meets the general standard or status quo?
Man,
what's the impact of this game as a whole?
I think from a design standpoint, it is. And I think it's an evolutionary moment for Jersey Jack, at the very least. It's an evolution for them because the game flips better than almost any other game that they have. That this game is quick, it is fast, it does not feel like a JJP. It's more reminiscent of a Stern or a Bally, something that you're used to playing. It doesn't have that float to it, doesn't have that slow, and I know they addressed the flippers back on Toy Story. That was kind of the start of the addressing of kind of weaker flippers, but this still just feels like it took it to another level, the way that it plays. So I think in that standpoint, it's evolutionary to JJP. I think Eric has a lot of really great stuff in this game. That cube, which we can go into, all the design, here soon or later.
That staircase.
But you know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff is really cool. It's really integrated really well. The Quidditch match, all that stuff. And again, it's nothing at all against Joe. It's like you said, Joe works hard. He's a great dude. But I think that if they can, create those moments in the game and bring this code full circle, it kind of is a revolutionary moment in pinball. I really do. Because it's just a gorgeous game. It's designed and laid out well. It just plays very different from any other game. It's kind of like that to me. That's what the Keith Elwin effect always was Keith's games just play different from a lot of other games. He's doing new things. Eric did that with this game, and Eric's done it in previous games. But this game shoots very well, very very well.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because when I was considering the evolution of the game, or is this evolutionary for Jersey Jack Pinball, for me, it's the evolution of Eric Minier as a pinball designer.
Exactly.
And again, we talked about his previous titles, and some of his, for instance, like Guns N' Roses, Full Transparency, I think it's a great game.
It didn't shoot very good.
For me, it's what he did more. So it's not that it didn't shoot very good. It's just that it was satisfactory. Yes. The shot the shots weren't something where I would clamor over, but it worked well for me. It was his approach with the theme integration and the entire presentation of that package of a Guns N' Roses themed pinball machine. Like, I don't know what he could have done any better with any of that. So I think that's where, Eric receives a lot of credit is not so much with the geometry or shot geometry of Guns N' Roses, but just overseeing the whole presentation of the game, because it's spectacular. In this instance, though, with Harry Potter, I just feel like this has got to be his best shooting game. Arguably Jersey Jack Pinball's best shooting game. And I'm happy for him because, again, pressure on the title, I would assume it's got to be there. You want to meet expectations, you want to exceed expectations, and to have something that shoots that well, I'm super pleased and happy for him and for that whole team.
That was the only critique that you were hearing about Eric, was just like, oh, okay, it's like Guns N' Roses is remarkable, but I mean, shoot's okay. Nothing to write home about. Godfather was quite a bit better. He did a lot, but like you said, the geometry on this game, he got it down. It's a smooth, fun game. It's surprising. All the other mechs and toys that he's very well known for, the theme integration is all there, but he finally nailed the shots and the fun, the gameplay fun, not just the world, but he made a great shooting game, just a fun, good shooting game, So I'm like you, I'm super, super happy for the guy, like beyond.
So when the game came out, because there's 3 versions of the game, right? Typically the last, I don't know, most every release with the exception of recently Guns N' Roses, you've got 3 levels of JJP games, which typically would be the collector's edition, the limited edition, would be the 2 core units, and then occasionally there's a standard edition. With this release, we do have a collector's edition, which is that Mina Lima artwork themed edition. You do have a wizard edition, which takes the place of the limited edition. And then you do have an arcade edition, which would be more of the standard edition. The Mina Lima artwork was polarizing. The Mina Lima artwork is the illustration that's on the exterior cabinet artwork. And for some people, they didn't know what Mina Lima was. They didn't understand what was happening with Mina Lima. Mina Lima, they're one of the artists behind the whole Harry Potter franchise, essentially. So from everything from props to the whole world of Harry Potter, even the theme parks, that's all Mina Lima inspired. They built that core from the ground up. So then to see that, those assets and that style come into play on the collector's edition was polarizing. It was, if they were looking for an impact with that collector edition package, that Mina Lima package delivered. It was impactful.
I don't think you're wrong, man. When I first heard about it, I was like, okay, I don't know about this. But, after seeing it, it's absolutely stunning. And, the way that I put it, you've got 2 preferences. A lot of people like what the arcade and the wizard bring for the artwork, cabinet and head wise, just because you get to see the characters. It's Harry Potter-ish. But the way that I always kind of put, the CE package is, hey, this isn't just Harry Potter. This is, if there was a pinball machine in the world of Harry Potter, this is what that game would look like. This is what would be at Hogwarts to me.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Absolutely. I know that it's important for those guys to have a collector piece, something worthy of a collector piece, something that's going to command your attention when you walk into a game room, something that looks outside of the norm, something that's superior. And that Mina Lima package is pretty sick. And if you look at it from left to right across the exterior of the cabinet, it's presenting the whole story, the chronological order of those movies and books from left to right.
I didn't know
so you
that.
can kind of, if you really take a look, it's like a timeline, which is a really cool kind of Easter egg thing. And, I think one of the core messaging situations was to kind of let people know that we're just casuals walking up to this game for the first time, what the importance of and the significance of that Mina Lima art package is. And, because for me, full transparency, I'm not a big Harry Potter guy before, Eric started working on the game. I had never even seen the movies. I hadn't read the books or anything like that. So when I first saw the Mina Lima art,
that is blasphemy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was excited to talk to you about this game, and now look, you done disappointed me, Ken. This is terrible.
I was like, it wouldn't be the first time. I'm disappointing everybody these days. It is what it is. But, when I first saw it, I remember my first impression was, that is beautiful, but what is that? I don't even know what that is. And I just think that there's some people that they want to see characters on the side of their cabinets. They want to see things that they gravitate to, that they're familiar to. And for me, like if that Mina Lima cabinet without the Harry Potter name on the backlash, if it was just sitting out in the wild, I wouldn't be like, oh, that must be a Harry Potter theme. So it's cool to see those that were on the fence about the approach to the art package, learning more about what the significance is. And they're coming around and they're like, hey, this is something that kind of was off-putting to me at first. And I would have preferred maybe the Wizard or Arcade Edition package, which does feature those characters and it's the same art package. But now they're like, hey, now that I understand how kind of cool and special this is, I think the
majority of the community were in the boat you were in, aside from that you don't know anything about Harry Potter. But the people that do know about Harry Potter, even, I don't know if they knew the significance or where that art package came from. Because, the thing is, you've got people that are accustomed to the books, that read the books and saw the movies. But you also have a very large amount of Potter fans that have only seen the movies. A lot of them have not read the books. And sort of that, they're mainly just being based off the film. They're just not readers. So I think that was even more kind of, almost in the same boat you were in of like, what the hell is this? Like, this makes no sense to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, man, just the fact that it was so gorgeous. I don't know how to explain it, like of why that it's gravitating. I just think that it's a beautiful pin. I don't even know if it has to do with the significance necessarily, like that you had mentioned. I think it's just that it's just beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And without a doubt, it's one of the most unique pinball art packages of all time. I can't remember another game that really is strikingly, I don't even know what the term is. It draws your attention. You want to look at it. When you see it in person, it's cool too. I mean, everything is kind of like gold flaked. It's behind a Radcal, which is cool. And the Radcal has a little bit of a different, and instead of that high gloss Radcal finish, this time they went with more of a matte velvet textured finish. And it just allows you to kind of see the artwork with a little bit more depth, whereas the glare on that gloss was kind of detracting from some of the visual effects of that. So it's really well done. I like it a lot.
I'm in on an arcade edition just because of cost, just to, up front. But I was happier with that too, because I've read the books. I'm familiar with the covers of the books. Our generation was kind of that early forefront of when the Potter books first came out and gained popularity. So I was an early adapter to that, read the books very early on before the first film even came out, or what particular books were released at that time. So I was just very much in that I want the characters on there. But now after seeing that CE and that CE being out for so long, like I keep toying with going up to that CE just because it has really grown on me about how beautiful that is. And I just like that. I don't know why, but it's pulling me away from that character driven aspect.
Yeah, it's a centerpiece.
I know.
You're going down the rabbit hole now. You're going from 9999 to 15G.
It makes no sense for me to do that. No sense. But
no, it makes sense. You got to make dollars for it to make sense in some ways. Because look, that arcade edition, right? Arguably one of the best bangs for your buck in all of pinball.
Oh,
it's $99.99.
Yeah.
You have the same play experience across all three models in the sense that there's not anything that's geometrically different as far as the shots.
Yeah.
The sculpts are identical. The toys and mechs are identical. What you're lacking in that arcade edition comes a lot in some of the more, like Invisiglass, which is the anti-glare glass is taken out of that game. Instead of a back glass, you're getting a translight. Exterior volume control is not included in the arcade edition. Inner art blades is not included. The toppers are not included. So it's things like that, which are, in my opinion, like more cosmetic amenities.
Yes.
But as far as the core gameplay, it's identical, right?
Yes, and that's what not a JGP fan or not a JJP fan, whatever. Like you have to give it to them to have a game that is so jam packed and to have three different models, but to not strip the playfield down. Like I was so surprised by it because I thought it was literally going to be a Guns N' Roses scenario again. And I know that they got away from that after that game, but I also think at the same time because they removed that upper playfield and everything was so barren on that game when they did that's why that standard didn't sell. I think that if they would have kept, the same upper playfield, everything the same on GNR, that standard would have sold a lot better. Now, again, price point those games are way different than where they are at now. But I'm just so glad, because I did not see it coming, and I don't think a lot of people did. Because talking to customers and stuff, when they come in and they're like, "Oh, so what's the difference?" and you just literally give them cosmetic differences for the most part, they're blown away that it's the same game. Same game.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it too, I mean, just going deeper into that, there are 3 sculpts on that play field just off the top of my head, where you've got the sorting hat sculpt in the lower right-hand corner by where the shooter's at. You've got the Quidditch player, which is up in the middle, and then you've got the Death Eater, which is up on the left. Those are all sculpts. Those could have been flat plastics in that arcade edition, no problem. I don't think anybody would have second guessed it.
Oh, I think you could even have taken the Whomping Willow or whatever in the car. I think ultimately you could have seriously just placed a plastic on top of that as well, and you know, gotten away with it and cheapened out. You know, and 10 grand is still not 9,999 is still not, you know, it's still not cheap. But I mean, for what you're getting, man, that's a hell of a deal on that to me.
For sure, and not to get aggressive with it, but if you've ever had the excuse of not wanting to get into a Jersey Jack pinball machine because of the you know, the entry position of cost, I mean, there's really no excuse at $9,999 for you to try to get in there, and you're getting a great game. You're not getting anything that's lesser. So you know, kudos to them for knocking that out.
I'm so stoked about it. I'm so freaking happy. I cannot wait to get mine. Like, I am so freaking excited to get it.
While we're on the topic of artwork with the Mina Lima package, there's been some banter or some conversation along the lines of what the approach was on the art package with with the playfield artwork. And that was, you know, some people felt that there was some artificial intelligence that was involved in the creation of the art process on the playfield. There were certain areas of the playfield that looked like they had some artifacts, or plainly exposed that there was some artificial intelligence that was used. And then, you know, since then, and in all fairness, outside of your personal thoughts of artificial intelligence and how it correlates to artwork and artists and pinball, and we can get into that, but the instances in which these were highlighted are they're not immediately obvious. They had to be pointed out to me even to kind of see what people were talking about. They're small in that instance, but I think for some it's more about the principle, and I'm paying for a high-end product and I don't want any corners to be cut, things like that. When you saw this was hitting, what were you thinking? Is this off-putting to you that there might be artificial intelligence used through either the creation or as a tool or I mean, because it's still very new in the sense that I don't know that we've really had to see this in pinball as much. Now, whether or not that's artificial intelligence or AI is being used to help artists or as a tool or to create compositions, I don't know enough about it.
I think that it's such a touchy subject with people, and I think some people are full of shit. Some people are utilizing some of this banter back and forth for their own self notoriety. They're using it to make themselves feel better because they've you know, are discussing something that they feel is important or digging. You know, I think there's a lot of aspects that go into it. And it's something that we could sit here and we could probably do a whole another hour discussing. But the first initial thing when I saw this and people talking about it and the pictures posted and stuff, you know, obviously I'm like, okay, yeah, there's something going on there. I mean, there's something going on.
Yeah, I think it was evident.
But, you know, that being said in itself, I didn't give a fuck about it. I truly did not.
Yeah.
And I know that that's going to get met with some criticism, because I understand a lot of these people, because a lot of the comments I've read and so forth are from graphic designers. They're from artists. They're from people. And I wholeheartedly understand not wanting AI to come into their field and to take their jobs and to compete with them. I don't want to see that. I like hand-drawn art. I like that. I like the composition of it. I like an artist. You know, this is sort of off topic, but it's not in a sense. Like, you know, there's a local magic shop that has a little stage, everything else in it, brings in some different magicians. The owner is a fantastic magician himself, and it's a magic shop. Where the hell do you really see magic shops anymore? So I go down.
Oh, you see them for about 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they magically disappear. It's like
I knew this guy a long time ago. I was in magic. But long story short, I try to support that guy because
you wait a second. You were in magic?
Yeah, I was in magic. Yeah, like actual magician magic, not the cards magic. Yeah, I loved magic at one point.
So you were involved like as an enthusiast, or you were
just an enthusiast.
Magic?
No, I never performed. I was just an enthusiast.
Oh,
big enthusiast.
I thought we were gonna get some old YouTube clips of you going up and sawing some ladies in half or something.
No, my little wand and my rabbit. No,
it would have been great. No. I'll tell you what, I would love to see you perform some magic. I pull a little rabbit out of the hat or something like that. I'd be down.
You know what? This weekend, I'm going to perform some magic and I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to record some magic and send you magic tricks.
I want to see some sleight of hand.
Because I still have a lot of magic tricks and stuff. And but long story short,
that's awesome.
We don't want to bore the public. But
right.
I support this guy. Like I'll go down and I'll buy some tricks still. Like, there was one time, we do some donations to a local children's hospital and stuff and for some needy stuff around Christmas time. So again, I went down and bought a bunch of, $5, $10 magic tricks from him and stuff. And I try to support him because without him succeeding, we won't see those things anymore. They're going to be relics. And I love the fact that he took the risk and he's got this magic shop and he's succeeding and flourishing. And I want to keep those things around. So I support those things.
Yeah,
same thing with these artists.
That's nice.
Yeah. I want to keep these artists around. So I understand that. But also we have to come to the reality that AI it is the future, and there's no stopping it until the government or someone stops in and puts a stop to it, because companies, and I won't say that it's greed, I won't say it's anything else. It just makes logical sense for a lot of them to utilize AI tools. We're seeing it in every aspect of production, everything across multiple things. It's not just artists. It's not just, these artisans that are losing their jobs. The reason that's, to me, is in the forefront of our minds is because it's readily available for all of us. We're not particularly using AI to code something. We're not using AI for automation. We're not using AI and bots to do a lot of things that we're not used to, but most all of us can sit down and create graphics with it. We can create art with what is at our disposal, or not at our disposal as people. So I think that's also why it's very readily available. And there's a lot of artists out there. There's a lot of, the struggling artist thing. There's a lot of artists out there that are working on things. So I think that's why it hits so hard in this aspect. But at the same time, it doesn't bother me.
Well, the other aspect of it too, though, is it's like, all right, if you guys just had and I say you guys, I just say any pinball company, if a pinball company has AI doing their art package, then you're not paying an artist at that point, right? So why don't you just relay I want those cost savings to reflect in the price if you just have AI.
That has drove me freaking bonkers, because I have seen that.
I know it's driving you bonkers.
I know.
I love it.
Like, I've told you, I don't know why people keep using that as an excuse. Okay, I can understand that if you feel like you wanted hand art. I don't know if that matters. I think that most people, honestly, most people would never even tell the difference, honestly, especially if it was cleaned up well enough. People are not going to know the difference out there. Like some things have been said before, fairly certain that AI has already been used in pinball before, prior to this sort of thing. But when you want to get into, hey, you didn't use an artist. I feel like that I paid for this. Where's my cost savings? I truly break that down and think about it, Ken. And I won't ask you, you might know, you actually might not know at all about the financials of some of these pinball companies and what they're paying their artists. But let's just say, to me, this feels like a high number for one game, but I'm just going to say, let's say that they paid them $100,000. It was $100,000, salary to create the artwork for Harry Potter. I don't think that it's unrealistic to say that this game is going to sell 3,000 units. Do you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I think when it's all said and done, I think this will be JJP's biggest seller of all time, surpassing GNR. It might take a couple years, 2-3 years to do that. But
let's say 3,000 units. At 3,000 units with $100,000 salary, you personally, off the top of your game, would save a whopping $27.
Is that what the math says?
Yeah, that's what the math says. So it makes no sense to me when somebody thinks that Jersey Jack saved all of this money. And even that being said, Jesper,
Jesper Abel.
And that being said, Jesper Abels, I mean, and we can get into this a little bit, but it seemed he put out a comment the other day discussing the use of AI. And it seems like that the artist was still in full control, hand drew all of the assets, but utilized AI.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, to summarize his comment, because it's pretty long, but since you're bringing it up and I'll continue to listen to you flow through your conversation. Basically, he's saying that the Harry Potter machine and all the concerns about the AI and the artwork, he was clarifying that the tools were only used sparingly to support the blending and enhanced handcrafted designs, not to generate full illustrations. So the creative vision prioritized complexity and originality to deliver an emotionally rich, immersive experience for players, while the leadership team wasn't directly involved in the technical art process. The creative team used all tools with intention and transparency. So that was kind of the summary. And ironically, I used AI to summarize his post.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying?
How do I break this down?
That's an even better situation because, your artist was still utilized. You didn't even take a full job from an artist. Again,
Boom. That's what I was going to talk about too, is in this instance, at least, an artist didn't lose a job. An artist made the decision to utilize AI as a tool to help him complete his job.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Nobody was paid, as far as I know, more or less because there was AI. It is what it is. But listen, and I can also say this. I'm happy to say it. I've seen the renderings of these, of kind of the progression of this playfield. I'm not in the art department at JJP. That's led by JP DeWin on this title, and Jesper was the main artist. But trust me, nobody said, hey, AI, ChatGPT, I need you to go ahead and illustrate a whole Harry Potter pinball playfield, and here's the assets. It wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
So there was, I can now see where it was used as a tool and not necessarily something to, pull the load for the project. I understand where some people are concerned about it. Believe me, I do. I don't know that I feel strongly either way, because at the end of the day, I want to play the game, and as artwork is important to me, and I don't want anybody to feel like their jobs are in jeopardy, and I don't want anybody to feel like that their previous artwork was used without their consent to help teach this AI. I understand as best as I can, but at the end of the day,
Well, and I'm not negating
I
any of those feelings. I'm not. I know that I just gave a very strong take on it, but I'm not trying to negate any of those things. I understand those, but I personally just don't think it matters at this point on this game. I really don't. And again, I think the whole thing of passing on cost savings, that's just kind of the main thing I want to hit on. Is just a ridiculous argument on that. And let's say that it even was a little bit more money. I think in this day and age, with inflation, with everything that's going on in the world, that if a company can save some money, what they're doing is they are able to keep prices at the same. I think we're beyond at this point right now of passing any cost savings on to people. Those cost savings that a manufacturer or a company, I don't care who you are, I'm not just talking about JJP, I think Stern, I think Spooky, I think anybody, if there's ways to cut a little bit of cost that doesn't really, hurt the game, that is to be able to keep the games at the current price points. I don't think that we can pass savings on. If there's a couple $100 savings, that's their ability to keep the game priced at the price that they are, if that makes sense to you.
I get it. It makes sense. We haven't seen a price increase over the last few titles from Jersey Jack Pinball, so that's encouraging. I mean, arguably, there might have been a case where they could have charged a little bit more outside of the whole artwork thing, but no, it's encouraging. And again, play the game, have some fun with it.
I think so. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, a lot of these things that people have pointed out, they're very small. I mean, I've looked at this game. I've been up on this game. None of it bothers me from that aspect. If we take everything else out of the equation, we take all of the artists losing jobs, we take out the AI taking over, we take all of these factors out. If you just look at the game, again, you're not going to notice it. The game is too fast. You're playing it. It's all very small. Now, if Harry had like 3 eyes or something going on in the middle of the play field that's so prominent right by your flippers, okay, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and that game we had games we were playing those games forever, before they finally went to production, and having all those eyes on there. But to be fair, nobody's got their face, nose length from the playfield going over every little bit of artwork. But I've grown to realize that in this hobby and in this industry, I don't know if there's anything else that kind of gets analyzed in such a micro sense than pinball does, at least for anything that I've ever been involved with. So, don't get caught with your pants down, so to speak, because somebody's going to exploit it. That's for sure.
I agree. Well, thank you, Ken, for bringing up that polarizing topic. Very much appreciated.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, it's the cutting edge entertainment and news. No, I'm kidding. The one thing you'll realize here is that we don't have any agenda, and we certainly don't have. We're not activists. We're just covering pinball from an enthusiast perspective with a little bit of distributor inside baseball, I guess, so to speak. So
I agree.
Nothing malicious, just a little conversation, some friendly conversation. What else do you got on this game? Again, we're not going to deep dive the pin. We just wanted to offer some commentary on some of the more topical situations that have been coming up.
You know what, Ken? I have to apologize to you because you tried to start off with that with like, hey, what do you think about this game and the shots? We're not going to go deep. And then we got off into some wild tangents.
Yeah, but you know what? We weren't talking about how satisfying the left orbit is or anything like that. We'll leave that to some other people. It's taking a different perspective, but I would like to try to get more involved and in depth into your magical career and the tricks that you've learned over.
You just wait till this weekend, buddy.
You're the High Plains drifter of magicians.
Wait till this weekend. You get to see all the amazing coin tricks, card tricks.
Hey, can we put one of your tricks up on the Flippin' Out Pinball podcast social media?
I will record a trick
pages.
and I will put it on. I will. We'll put it on one of our socials.
All right, good. So that if you're there, you want to see Greg Bone's magical journey.
One more thing to that, I have to explain this. So one more thing about my magic friend. So he's actually a pretty world-renowned magician, but in the sense that he does a lot of background stuff. Like he's created a lot of tricks and stuff for oh my gosh, what America's Got Talent. He's had a couple people win America's Got Talent. He does a lot of stuff back behind closed doors for magicians and helping them with their tricks for Penn and Teller's Fool Us and different things. But the great thing is, sorry, again, long story, but I just love Brent. Just awesome to have as a friend. But he's into pinball now. Him and his wife are giant pinball people now. So it's like kind of full circle. He's got me into magic when I was a kid, and now able to help push him into pinball a little bit.
That's why you're a pinball ambassador. You're crossing the streams there. It'd be cool, actually, if you get a chance, next time you talk to him, because if he's getting familiar with pinball, I would love to see what a magician could do with visuals inside of a pinball machine. Like, what kind of sleight of hand, what kind of magical elements could a magician conceptualize and say, hey, you could probably make this work on a game? And that would be really cool, because, look, everybody's looking for the ball to do something cool and unique and fun, and that's why something is simple, and I say simple in terms, but I know it's a more complex design underneath the playfield, but Dracula with that Miss Multi-Ball. I mean, just having a magnet drag that ball across the playfield is really cool. And he's the perfect guy, because like I said, like he's not I mean, he's been on stage like a lot. Like I think he was on Penn and Teller too. Yeah. But his main thing now is his business is basically constructed around creating the physicality and the magic tricks with these magicians. So that is honestly something I had not thought about till now, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass that I didn't, because I'm actually going to sit down and I want to talk to him about like what can we create. Well, he's doing stuff in front of a live audience, so a lot of it's got to be lighting and mirrors and deception and stuff. I would just be curious to see, because that'd be kind of cool to just have a hardcore magician come in with the pinball company and be like, hey, let me show you a couple cool things you could do with this ball, and then
and work with the engineers on it and say, hey, this is like where's our limitations, like what can I do in this, because this is how that I would work this trick. Now how do we incorporate it, how do we get it to fit in the game? Ooh, kid, you done made me excited.
Let's go. Hey, you want to open a pinball company? You want to do it?
Up with a magician?
Let's go. Pinball Magic 2.
That's what we can just call it. The company's
sequel.
Pinball Magic.
Right. I'm in. Let's go. All right, Greg, I think that's going to wrap up episode number 2 of the Flippin' Out Pinball podcast. If you are looking for a new or used pinball machine, arcade, anything in that genre, we encourage you to go check us out at flippinoutpinball.com. That's flip, the letter N, outpinball.com. Hit us up over there and see what we've got. Happy to answer all your questions, any comments that you may have or observations. You can hit me up at ken@flippinoutpinball.com or Greg Bone over there at greg@flippinoutpinball.com. Also, follow us on socials, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, type in Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast. Follow us there. Also, follow Flippin' Out Pinball while you're there. Follow everything that we have within our little corporate umbrella. All the Flippin' Out stuff. And Greg, somebody might be on the fence a little bit. I'm not sure how this game shoots, how it plays, how to approach it, or maybe you already bought a game and you want to have a little bit more of a deep dive. Greg, what's a good idea for them? What's a good way for them to figure out more about what's happening with Harry Potter Pinball?
Oh, man, Ken, you got to go visit Joel and check out his amazing, I'm talking about truly amazing tutorial on YouTube, on the Flippin' Out YouTube channel. And check out Joel's tutorial on this game. I mean, truly, especially for a new game to come out, like the deep dive that he goes into this code and explaining what to do in this game is truly phenomenal.
Greg, I worked for the company for 5 years, and I learned a couple things about the game from Joel's pinball stream. So kudos to Joel. He's like the John Madden of pinball streaming with his illustrations, and he does a great job.
So again, get out there, get to YouTube on the Flippin' Out Pinball channel, and check out the tutorial, because, I mean, that tutorial is absolutely phenomenal.
And finally, if you'd like to support the show in any fashion, you can go to patreon.com, search Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast, and look at some of the tiers. You might want to subscribe and help Greg buy his next magic trick.
Oh, definitely. And listen, there's going to be more Potter. So stay tuned on our Patreon for a little bit of extra bonus content on some follow-up to our discussion today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Greg Bone, I am Ken Cromwell.
You're a wizard, Mr. Cromwell.
Oh, the impressions coming back for episode 2. Whatever you do, don't forget to take some time out of your day and play some pinball. So long, everybody.